Welcome everybody to the 7.3.0 PTS patch notes. We're going to go ahead and read through these, and I'll give you a little insight of what I'm thinking as far as what it all means. So, this is the beginning of Legacy Brenton's year-long adventure. The first DLC is PvE Dungeons, the Coral Airy, and the Shipwright's Regrets. Some new things. As part of the free base game update, we are excited to add account-wide achievements. So an achievement you earn on one character will be shown as complete on all your characters. We've also added several new PvP item sets that are earned from the rewards of the Worthy and Imperial City, in addition to unique PvP outfit style. In the Crown Store, you'll find the Deconstruction Assistant and multi-round mounters to test during the PTS. Okay. So we're going to move on to the two new dungeons, Coral Airy and Shipwright's Regret. So one is where we help Captain Kayleen lead a daring rescue of one of her former crew members from the dissidents of the Ascendant Order. This is the Jakaran one that they showed on the stream. And Shipwright's Regret. This is where we help Zaji and try and do some stuff to make his ship better. So, both dungeons have a normal version and a challenging veteran hard mode. So all the hard modes for each of the three bosses. There's also some hidden bosses they set. So again, the normal thing, 3 sets per dungeon, and the 2 monster masks as well. There's also body and face markings, 2 mementos, titles, housing items, etc. All right, so new item sets from Coral Airy. Maligalig. Yeah, there it is. Maligalig's Maelstrom is a light armor set. It adds 10,000 max magicka, 4% healing done, and adds 129 weapon and spell damage. On overhealing yourself or a crew member with a direct heal, you apply Maligalig's Maelstrom to the target for 6 seconds that deals shock damage to enemies within 7 meters. This damage is based on 33% of the overheal amount, up to 3,300. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. So you got a 4-second downtime, basically. And this, I'm guessing this will probably look a lot like the Livewire set, as far as how it looks on the character. But 33% of the overheal amount. So if they're at full health, you could probably, and you hit them with a 10%, you would get the, or with a 10,000, you would get the 3,300 max. So that's the max the damage can do. But it is a has to be a direct heal, so it has to be like a breath of life. And it is an area of effect shock damage to enemies within 7 meters of the overhealed person. So the group member. Griffin's Reprisal is a medium armor set. Gives you 657 crit chance, 1487 penetration, and 657 critical chance. When you deal crit damage, you or an ally can activate Griffin's Reprisal on the enemy for 8 seconds, causing a small griffin to fly by and deal bleed damage over 10 seconds to enemies within 5 meters. This synergy can be applied once every 20 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. You know, this would be interesting because to see what the whether or not it'd be good on a werewolf, because werewolves do a lot of bleed damage anyways. But it's also good for any class that's not a necro because you get your own self synergy. So yeah, so we'll definitely see how that works. I could definitely see this on a Stam Blade or a Stamplar because they have high crit anyways, so they'll have a higher chance to crit. I wonder if you pair it with Acuity, whether or not that would help with the uptime on it. I don't know. Glacial Guardian is a heavy armor set. 2 pieces armor, 3 pieces max stamina, 4 pieces health recovery, which But after successfully blocking an attack from an enemy within 8 meters, you tether to them for 8 seconds. While tethered, you deal frost damage every second to enemies touching the tether and cause them to have a 200% increased status effect chance. The tether breaks if the target moves more than 12 meters away and can be applied once every 12 seconds, and the damage scales off your max health. So that's... I see this one as a Warden tank. I think that's probably where that's going to be. It scales off your max health. So I wonder if this will scale also off the stamina and magicka though too, because everything's kind of no, because this is a set, it's not a skill, so it's only off your max health. All right, Cargada, the monster mask. Okay. Add 731 max magicka and 731 max stamina. And dealing damage with a heavy attack, you create a whirlwind that slowly moves forward for 8 seconds, growing by 3 meters every 3 seconds. Enemies within the whirlwind take shock damage and physical damage every second. So both shock and physical. Okay. Allies within the whirlwind reduce their magicka and stamina cost by 10%. And this effect can occur once every 20 seconds, and the damage scales off the higher of your weapon and spell damage. Okay, so I guess the shock damage and physical damage based on your weapon or spell damage. It's a heavy attack build. It's an 8-second uptime and a 12-second downtime. So that's a pretty long downtime, so I'm not exactly sure, but it does add the one piece is a magicka stamina, so this might be a good one for a, at least a one piece for anything running a mythic. I don't know how this will relate to PvP because they have, your allies have to stand within the whirlwind. This might be a set for a healer. Just for the OS reduction that you give to your group. Might be. Alright, out of Shipwright's Regrets. You have the light armor piece, the Storm Cursed Revenge. Max magicka, weapon and spell damage, offensive penetration. And when you deal shock damage, you have a 50% chance to deal shock damage to an enemy and up to 2 other enemies within 5 meters. This effect scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. So if you're running a lightning staff, if you're running a lightning staff, it'll proc it. For the off balance, Sorks will run it. I could possibly see this as a front bar set, or a Stam Sork, because it's light armor. Alright, Spriggan's Vigor is the medium armor set. Adds crit chance, max stamina, weapon and spell damage. When you deal crit damage, you gain a stack of wild growth for 5 seconds and restore 100 stamina, 10 stacks max, so 1,000 stamina restore. Each stack of wild growth increases your max magicka by 222. So that is 2,220 max stamina. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds, but when you get to 10 seconds max, it just stays there. It's kind of like is it Yokita? Advancing Yokita, where you have to... No, Reliquin. Relican, where you get the stacks just by the weaving. But it'll restore your stamina. And then once, so if you're at 10 stacks max, you've already restored 1,000 stamina. One falls off and one refreshes, you'll get another 100 stamina back. So, and that's going to be every half a second if that's how fast you get them. So you can technically get all 10 stacks in 5 seconds. But you'd have to crit a lot because it only comes when you do critical damage. So I don't know how effective this will be. I mean, it'll increase your max in a PvE scenario where you're going to have, once you reach the 5 stacks, if you're consistently hitting critical damage once every 5 seconds, you'll be able to do it. But if you have a lower crit chance and you're not critting as much, you may see this fluctuate up and down. I don't know. Yeah, so it's basically you're going to have to deal 10 critical damage, 10 critical strikes in 5 seconds to get this max and keep that up the entire time. Okay. The heavy armor set is Turning Tide. Max health, max stamina, max health. After successfully blocking, you gain flowing water for 10 seconds, causing your next bash attack to deal magic damage up to 6 enemies in a 10-meter line. And then apply major vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 10%. And this effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off your max health. So you've got a 5-second downtime, basically. But the enemies have to be in a line. I wonder how wide the line is. How wide is the flowing water tube that's going to be hitting them? Will it, if you've got 2 or 3 enemies side by side in front of you, and you hit the middle one and it still kind of hits the side ones? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how big the flowing water is, basically. Will you be able to basically be on all 3 of them if they're stacked up in a line, 3 across, or will you only pee on the one that's directly in front of you and it doesn't hit anybody else? I don't know what the splash damage is for it. So you get that splash damage for the pee. All right, moving on. Nazare, the Monster Mask, adds 1206 max health. When you use an ultimate ability, the closest 6 enemies within 12 meters have all damage over time, major debuffs, and minor debuffs applied to them, extended by 1 second per 25 ultimate spent. So for every 100 ultimate, you're going to get 4 seconds of extension. And if you save up to 500 ultimate, you could potentially have 20 seconds of added damage over time debuffs. But this is the way you're reading, the way it reads is kind of funky. It's not that it's going to apply them all to them, so you're going to get all 7 debuffs applied to them at once you hit them. If they're completely, let's say you save up 500 ultimate, you start the fight by dropping, a Dawnbreaker on them. They don't have anything on them right now. It's not going to add all the debuffs to them. So this is one that after you've been in the fight for a bit, and they've got dots applied to them or debuffs applied to them, the ones that are currently on them will be extended. So if there's 1 second left on Breach, and you spend 500 ultimate, you're going to extend that 1 second an additional 20 seconds. But if you have good enough ultimate gen, you could get your ultimate back by the time that 20 seconds runs out. But this effect does not apply to damage beams or damage tethers. So like the frost one up here, Yeah, so the Glacial Guardian one, I don't see, so the Frost Tether that's there, you're not going to get a bonus off of to that from this monster set. But if you are running a coordinated group in Cyrodiil, it might actually not be that bad, because when you're getting Zerg down and you're just, you're 1vxing or 2vxing, and you get just swallowed by a Zerg, the six closest enemies will all have their damage over time, major debuffs and minor debuffs extended. I mean, you can guarantee that even a Dawnbreaker, you're looking at around 200 ultimate, I believe is what it is. So a Dawnbreaker at 200 ultimate, that's 8 seconds. Oh yeah. Alright, so collectibles and dies. There's a Frozen Shard Memento, a Ocean Pearl Memento. You can get some face markings and body markings. So you get the face markings by stepping foot in either of the dungeons, and you get the body markings by completing Shipwright's Regret on Veteran difficulty. You can get the face marking just by stepping in Coral Area, but you get the body markings by completing Shipwright's Regret on Vet. Okay. The Drowned Cobalt die can be attained by completing either one of them by completing both. Oh, so you have to get them both done on Vet. Okay. There's some achievements and titles. Some of these titles, like Privateer, that's a pretty cool one. And Shipwright, another one, pretty cool. Some motifs. You can get a Griffin Nest furnishing. Huh. They showed off one of the homes, the Sea Veil, or no, this one, the Undersea Anomaly. They showed that one in the stream that they did. And the Sea Veil Spire can be entered via the docks in Benkith. Oh no, this is this. Okay, so there's only one home. Got it. Okay. Count-wide achievements. Here's some things that people had some questions on. So if you have the Pathfinder achievement, right? So this first one right here, if you have the you'll be able to purchase items and antiquity leads that require achievement completion, so long as at least one character has completed the achievement. So for like antiquities, if you've completed the Pathfinder achievement, which is where you get all the eyeballs in the locations, you can go to any merchant and buy a lead for the map of that location, Carnuthy's Roost, or Oradon, or Stone Falls, Deshaun, whatever it is, right? So if you've not done that on one of your alts, one of your noob tunes, you can buy it from them once you have unlocked that on one tune. So you could actually buy the map from someone that hasn't got that completed and get that lead done. That'll actually help with the pace in which you get through the leveling up the scrying, because you'd have to go back to your main tune that has it all done, buy it to have it unlocked, then log in the other one and scry it and all this. So you can, it saves time. So that's good. Titles are now account wide, meaning any titles you've earned on one character, you'll be able to use on all your characters. So if you've gotten Emperor on one tune, all your tunes can be former Emperor. I really wish that with the titles, they would have some sort of indicator, like maybe a star, or have it be gold. The title itself be gold colored, so that way everybody else knows that, okay, you're running a Flawless Conqueror at a level. You should know at a level 15 running a Flawless Conqueror that they didn't get it on that tune. But if they're at CP 1850 or whatever, and maybe they're running a Stand Blade or whatever, but they've only got it off of like a Magsork or a Magplar, you'd at least be able to tell whether or not that tune specifically has gotten it. much like they do with the Alliance War ranks. Each toon has their own rank, so you could be a corporal on one or a 5-star on another. But I wish that they would put some sort of indicator to show that the toon that's wearing it has actually gotten it. Is the one that actually achieved that achievement. So again, you'll need to log in each of your characters to register them all. While achievements may be account-wide, some of those that are commonly tracked via achievements are still tracked on an individual character basis. So like the enchanting runes, the motif crafting knowledge, the lore books, sky shards, public dungeon group events. This was one I was wondering about. The public dungeon group events, does that mean we all get a bunch of skill points if we've done them all on our mains? And the Dragon Guard's daily achievements. So, but you will be able to still go through your motif knowledge. So you're going to keep all that character specific. Undaunted progress. Okay, so previously, what's live right now is every time you complete an achievement with the Undaunted, you get Undaunted reputation, right? So you get a speed mode hard, speed run, no death hard mode in a vet dungeon. You get reputation with the Undaunted Guild. Now those achievements are going to be unlocked. So if you've got it on one, you'll have it on them all. But they're not going to give you the reputation with that. So instead, what they did was they added more experience or reputation, more Undaunted reputation when you complete the quests found in the instance dungeons and the Undaunted dailies. So you'll still be able to level up Undaunted the same time path, but yeah, they're just no longer going to base it on achievements. All right, PvP item sets. Rewards of the Worthy. The Rallying Cry, which is the light armor set. Crit chance, max magicka, crit chance. When Battle Spirit is active, meaning only in PvP zones, Cyrodiil, I believe. Critically healing yourself or an ally causes you and up to 11 other group members within 12 meters to gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1650 critical resistance for 20 seconds. Each group member affected reduces the weapon and spell damage by 15. So if you have a full group of 12, right, or 11 and you, so that's 12, you would basically be reducing the weapon and spell damage by 170. So you're basically halving it. And your crit resistance will be halved as well. So if you're running a full Zerg, you're only getting about half of that when you critically heal yourself or an ally. But if you're 2, 3, 4 VXing, right, that's gonna be significant because so these are basically like Zerg killing sets. That's the way I look at it, is that you want to run small group to kill a Zerg, right? 4 of you you're only gonna reduce that by 45, right? So you're gonna have 265 weapon and spell damage. I don't know how well that's going to work, but I mean, whether or not it'll be worth it putting this set on for something else. But if you've got a dedicated group or you've got a healer that's dedicated to it, maybe where they're running a healing set like this. But we'll see. We'll test it out. Hew and Sunder, the medium armor set. Max stamina, weapon and spell damage. When you deal damage with a heavy attack, thanks no one else and all you guys running heavy attack builds, destroying PvP. No wonder they're bringing in a card game. Honestly, me and Bendy Straw, that's all we do is heavy attack builds. So, timestamps matter. Hashtag. You gain 1236 offensive pen for each enemy within 8 meters of your target for 10 seconds. Again, a Zerg killing set. You're just getting, you're 2vxing a crap ton. If you're able to heavy attack, you gain this offensive pen. Or each enemy within 8 meters of your target for 10 seconds. So if you got a stack of 12 right there, right, that's 1236 times 12, or times 11 because you don't get it off the one you heavy attacked. You get it for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds. So you'd be able to refresh this because you got a 10-second uptime, but a 7-second refresh. So I think this medium armor set will be a nice Zerg killer. Interesting. And Venerating Aura is the heavy armor set. Adds 4% healing taken, max health, armor. When you deal direct damage, you have a 10% chance to create an area under the target that detonates after 1 second. Applying Venerating Aura for 10 seconds. Venerating Aura lowers the health recovery, magicka recovery, and stamina recovery of enemy players by 129 per player hit. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Okay, the 1 second. So it detonates after 1 second. And it applies the aura. So if they're not in the area when it detonates, I don't think they're going to get hit with the aura. So the question is this how big is this? Is it the same size as Bahra's Curse? Where it just puts like the turn evil sized undaunted skill? Is that how big it is? Because that's easy to roll through, right? You roll out of that no problem. Or even just moving. If you're running around, no one's ever standing still in PvP. So if they're continuously moving, they're going to be out of that in 1 second, no time. So I wonder how big that circle is, because if it's about the same size as, oh crap, what's that one set that pulls you in that everyone's using? Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. Dang it. So anyways, if it's a big enough area, then yeah, they'll get hit by the detonation and they'll get the aura for 10 seconds. But again, this one might also be a good chance to, but it's only a 10% chance. So a 10% chance for a 15-second, once every 15 seconds. I don't know how that, they may need to up this chance, especially depending on the size of the area, or lower the cooldown. Because it's only going off of direct damage. So I think they should probably up this percent, since you're dealing with direct damage. I don't know. So Imperial City, Nunatak. It adds armor, and on dealing frost damage, create an area under the target for 6 seconds that applies Chilling Bite every second. Chilling Bite deals frost damage and applies a stacking 25% snare for 4 seconds. At 4 stacks, the enemy is immobilized and gains Major Brittle for 4 seconds, causing the target to take 20% increased critical damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. So kind of like Azuring Blight, where Azuring Blight will stack up to 20 and then explode. And that's the one you get out of Lara Marsalok. The Chilling Bite applies every second. So after 4 seconds of having the aura, you will hit them with a 4-second snare, or 4-second immobilization. It'll last for 6 seconds, but they're going to be immune. So you're looking at 12 seconds. This is going to be stacked. So, I mean, you're probably looking at 12, 15 seconds before they'll be able to be snared again. But the critical damage, the Major Brittle's only for 4 seconds as well. I don't see this being used in PvE unless you can coordinate your Warden ultimate. But in PvE, I could see this being worked for a Warden tank, because they'll at least give Major Brittle to to the mob, 20% increased critical damage. They're doing a lot of frost damage, and it's interesting that they're bringing in water too. So, wonder what's coming on the horizon. But off the weapon and spell damage, so it's not going to, so the damage. So the damage is going to be based on your weapon or spell damage. But the brittle and the snares and immobilization. This might be a good one for PvE tanks that don't really have a good class route. A good class crowd control. Yeah, I could see that being worked on a Templar, because they don't really have a good class. Well, they're usually using the Undaunted one, but I could see this being used more for PvE. It would have to be a niche or a really top end, group running a warden in PvP. So, Lady Malgada. Offensive pen. When you deal direct damage to a target within 12 meters, you create an area that after 1 second quickly moves forward and then returns, dealing shock damage and applying veneration for 5 seconds, causing the target to deal 10% less critical damage. Once every 15 seconds. So I think that the cooldown will have to be adjusted. Honestly. Because again, what is the size of the area? And is it only for people that are in the area, or is it moving back and forth, dealing shock damage, and anything it hits will get the veneration? Because if you can path it, then you'd be able to stay out of it. Baron Thirsk. Stamina recovery, magicka recovery. On dealing direct damage, mark a target for 6 seconds. After 2 seconds, every 2 seconds after, an explosive scamps is spawned nearby and detonates. After 1 second, dealing magicka damage up to 6 enemies within 4 meters and applying minor timidity for 10 seconds, draining 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. Each explosive scamp deals 100% increased damage. This effect can occur once every 25 seconds. I'm betting you can have more than one marked target. And it doesn't. So you mark a target for 6 seconds, and then so 2, 4, 6. Yeah, so you'll get 3 scamps. And this is just a troll set where you're sucking the ultimate right out of them. I mean, they're still gaining ultimate because they're in combat, but you're just kind of crashing it a little bit. I wonder how this would work with pet sorks or pet sorks. If you're running both pets, you drop your ultimate, and you got these 3 things going out, and you've got the set that that gives extra damage per pet you have out. Oh man, came out like 2 patches ago, 2 or 3 patches ago. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but where you get added damage for every pet you have on. With these 3 pets also count, because I know the Maw of Infernal counts. So if you have 3 of them, well, you wouldn't have 3 because you'd only have 1. You get a 2-second spawn, so you'd basically 1 spawn, destroy, spawn, destroy, spawn, destroy. That's per target though. So if you have, you know, 4 or 5 targets and they all have one spawn on them, I mean, you could have 4 or 5 added pets to it. So, have to try that one out. Okay, we'll see. Okay, you got the Dragon Guard Berserker armor outfit, only through PvP activities, cannot be traded. Okay. I wonder, here's the thing, I mean, it's going through the vaults, right? So you only need 150 keys in there, right? To get in there. And you get 150 of the keys to get in there. And depending on, like, if you have 300 keys, you get two shots at the chest, right? Is there going to be a second one that allows you to use AP, or how are they going to play this? Because I mean, obviously, if you have the four times Telvar multiplier, you increase your chances of gaining one of the pages. So I guess that's how they're doing this. You gotta risk reward, man. You gotta walk around with the 4 times multiplier to get that. So as you're running to that vault, you may get yanked or whatever. So you could possibly lose a crap ton of Telvar. I don't know. It's definitely a cool style. I wouldn't want to, like, I like my outfits on my characters, so I wouldn't want to take it off for it. But I mean, maybe they can do maybe once you get it done and you get it collected, you can get a different title, like once you get the full style page done, if you don't want to wear the outfit, you can have a title that says the Dragon Guard Berserker, right, or whatever. So
she's still the one for you, and the amorous incense of Mara for daily use helps you be ready anytime the moment is right. Amorous incense of Mara is the only daily ointment approved to treat symptoms of BPH, like needing to go frequently. Tell the Mages Guild, your local priest of Arcade, or your healer about all your medical conditions and medicines, and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take amorous incense of Mara if you take skooma for chest pain, as it may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle aches. Giggity. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. Or if you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision, or an allergic reaction like rash, hives, swelling of the lips, tongue or throat, or difficulty breathing or swallowing. Stop taking amorous incense of Mara and get medical help right away. Ask your Mages Guild, priest of Arcade, or healer about amorous incense of Mara for daily use today.
Alright, so here's one for PvE. Yeah, well, and also arenas. So item set collection update. This is pretty cool. With this update, when you unlock any individual piece of a perfected item set, you will now automatically unlock the same piece of its non-perfected counterpart. So you don't have to run any normal trial to get all the normal stuff. You can just run vet trials, and if you get the perfected stuff, it automatically unlocks the non-perfected stuff. So the same thing with the arenas. Just run vet, and you'll unlock all the sets. So because of the curated drop in the arenas, you're going to get all the different pieces, and pretty soon you're only going to have to run it however many times there are for the different pieces, and then you can unlock the perfected and non-perfected set. So for those of us that have ran through it on normal and vet, it'll automatically be filled for us, and we can we can whine and bitch about how hard it was for us to get all our item set collections, just like we bitch about how we used to have the Maelstrom stuff before they put in a perfected thing, and now we had to go back and do it again. So Zos is just trying to make it better for the newer players, and that's good. So the deconstruction assistant, Gilladil, the rag picker. I mean, this is handy. It's not like one of those like, oh great, oh yeah, oh. You're just not gonna have to pull out your banker all the time. And put it in there, and then, oh crap, my bank's full, and then you gotta go. So you can just pull her out and decon everything, so that's good. Again, it's non-PvP areas. She's a house guest as well, so you can place her in there. But I think she's going to be listed as a service and not as a house guest. So, like the thief, the banker, and the merchant. Or, yeah. So that's good. I mean, though, that you can decon it in your house. You won't be able to craft with her, but I mean, if you don't have any crafting stations in your house, you can at least put her in there and you can decon everything. So also, if you have any abilities that affect the deconstruction, she knows all that stuff too. So if you have increased chance to get materials out of her, good. The multi-rider mounts. The 2 multi-rider mounts are available on the PTS. The Dwarven Spider, which they first initially put out, and then the Draft Horse. There's a different mount category called a multi-rider mount. Instead of like the equine or the feline or any of that other stuff, the exotic, there's actually ones called multi-rider mounts. Maximum of 2 player characters, 1 driver, 1 passenger. The owner of the mount is the driver, and the passenger only interacts by the group member. You got to do the whole like interact with player button, so F on the keyboard or the options on the controllers. And then you select ride mount. Driver dismounts, it goes away. All right. So what I'd like to see with the 2 rider mounts is maybe they can like incorporate that into like some sort of crafting thing where you can craft and upgrade like a saddle or whatever, right? For let's say leather workers, you could craft a saddle. And just like they do with the master writs where you can create a target dummy or whatever, you can craft a saddle and it'll change your regular mounts to a 2-person mount. Once they get this all figured out, maybe they could do that. Because I guarantee you that if they allowed us to upgrade our current mounts to a multi-rider mount, right? I would upgrade my stick horse and have my companion or my group member ride the stick horse with me. That would be hilarious. I would like to see that. I'd like to see them incorporate some of the stuff to where like the true end game of crafting is sought after more. Through all this trifecta trial runs and emperors and all this stuff in PvP, all them scrubs, all them noobs. True end game is crafting. So I'd like to see them incorporate something with the crafting where you do like with a master crafter, where you would buy maybe some like ethereal dust or something and actually create a upgrade to the mount. So you create 1 upgrade for 1 mount, and it would increase the population, or not the population, but the it's going to take time, money, and effort to make those. So the economy of the game would actually be greatly improved if they allowed us to do this, because that would be awesome. I would upgrade my stick horse like nobody's business. Okay, furnishings. They got new furnishings available. All the ones that are currently available are now going over to the other lady, Faustina. And she put everything else she has currently in a bundle for 700 RIP vouchers. You get 1 of each. You can also, all that other stuff that's there. The house server optimization. So this has to deal with if you own the same house in the same time. Yeah, there's just little things that they're picking, known issues. Like the traps in the arena. I've noticed this. The visual behavior of the levers and the traps, they're inconsistent. Yeah, it's hard to get them to stop and start. All right, so there's a prologue quest. Obviously, we'll talk about that later. PTS templates. Increase the threshold for summoning companions in some instance gameplay spaces from 2 up to a maximum of 4. So, does that mean in a dungeon, let's say we're 3-manning a dungeon, and we each bring out our companions, will there be 3 companions, 3 adventurers? Or will it still be 3 and 1, because you can only have 4 people there? Huh. Be interesting. I don't know. See. Okay, yeah. Quests, don't care. Silent Sanctorum. Your character will no longer die inexplicitly to environmental damage. So now, if you die, you cannot say, "Well, it's broken." No, you stood in stupid for too long. I mean, you were standing in stupid when you couldn't see it, and that's on you, but no. How many times do we have to start over for the no death? Because you were standing in something you couldn't see. You should know better. Oh, the Assembly General wasn't dropping weapons. Oh, God. That would suck. So, housing, questing, exploration, tutorials, typos, zones. We're getting down to it. Dungeon, combat and abilities. Here we go. Here's the meat and potatoes. Player abilities that scale off your offensive stats, such as weapon damage and max stamina, will now dynamically scale with your highest of your offensive stats. So, if it's scaled on weapon damage and you have higher spell damage, it'll scale off your spell damage. Max stamina, max magicka as well. So, as a heads up, the following abilities have not received adjustments to their scaling: Backlash in its morphs, final damage, the final damage of those two, Conjured Ward and their morphs, and Annulment and the morphs. Okay, so that's the light armor set. That is the Sork's Ward, and that is the Templar Ward, or the Templar Bubble. Player abilities that grant major savagery, prophecy, brutality, and sorcery now grant both of their respective versions, such as savagery and prophecy. Reinforced accessibilities of hybrid stat gaining. Okay. Passives and consumables that grant the minor version have not been adjusted. So, like they did with Breach, where it was the physical and spell penetration, the major breach, major fracture. They tied it all together. So with the taunt of the sword and board, it has a major and a minor. It would not grant you a minor. It would not grant you the minor breach. It would only give you the minor fracture. The current taunt already has both of them, but that's an example of something. Okay. So here we go. Dragonite, Ardent Flame, the Fiery Breath, Engulfing Flames morph. This morph's bonus now takes scale. Now, this morph's bonus damage taken now scales with a mixture of your weapon and spell damage, rather than spell damage and max magicka. So the total that you can get is 9,000. So if you have 3,000 weapon and 6,000 spell damage, you've got 9,000. And vice versa. If you've got 4,500 and 4,500, 9,000. If you've got 0 and 9,000, you're at 9,000. If you got 0 and 10,000, you're at 9,000, right? But rather than taking into account the magicka, it's taking into account weapon damage. So that's good. Searing Strike, the Burning Embers. This ability now heals up to 100% of the damage done anytime it deals damage, rather than 75% of the total damage done. So this one, you'd have to wait until it ended, and then if it did 10,000 damage, you'd get 7,500 off of it because it's 75. Now it's going to, if you're doing 2,000 every 2 seconds, you're going to get 2,000 healing every 2 seconds. So it turns it into a hot, which is, it's kind of like a vigor now. So it's not going to critical strike, because you shouldn't critical strike off of it. It's just based on the damage you do. So if the damage done is, I think if the I'm not sure if this one can critically strike or not, but if the damage critically strikes, then the heal would match the damage. So the heal's not critically striking, but the damage did. So what's interesting about Burning Embers is this is the Magicka Dragonite Claws, and this allows for you to, you could replace on a stamina DK, you could replace vigor with this. So since you're, as it currently stands right now, if you're in a stamina DK and you use vigor, right, you're wasting stamina and not damaging the enemy. You're healing yourself, but you're not damaging the enemy. And you're using your primary resource. So the way this works now will be you can damage the enemy using your not primary resource, so your Magicka, and it will heal you, so you can use your stamina to continue going after the enemies if you're in PvP, right? Going after other players using your stamina skills to hit, and you're using your Magicka skills to heal yourself, rather than using vigor where it's only healing you and not damaging them. So you're going to be able to apply more pressure that way and also heal. Now you could do it right now in what's currently live, but the heal itself is based upon your, your spell damage. So being a stamina class, you're going to have lower spell damage. So with the new update, the way I understand it is that it'll go off your weapon damage now. So the heal is based upon your weapon damage, even though you're using Magicka to do it. So your heal on live right now may be 2,500 total. If we go with 100% of the damage done, 2,500, right? But in the 7.3, that 100% is going to be based on your weapon damage, which could be 10k. You could have a 10k hot. Whereas on live right now, even if we went off the 100%, you're only going to get 2,500 hot. So this is really a nice thing. It allows you to use abilities that are there, that are not with your primary resource, and still get the benefit as if it were. So let's see what this change was made to help offer the Dragonite more steady healing in the midst of combat, rather than locking the heal behind more burst-like window when it comes to massive clumps, like Dragon Blood and stuff like that. Since much of the Dragonite's healing currently comes in bursts, while the sustained healing is weaker. Okay. Iconic powers, the spiked armor. The return damage from this ability in its morphs now scales off the mixture of your physical and spell resistance, rather than spell damage and max Magicka. Okay. They want this more to be a tank ability. So if you have a Lord Warden proc, obviously your physical and spell resistance will be higher. Therefore, the return damage will be higher as well. If it's not procced, the return damage will be lower, because you no longer have the Lord Warden on. So the area of effect damage of this ability now scales on your physical and spell resistance as well. So that's the one where it sprays out the spikes. Necromancer, Bone Goliath. Hummeling Goliath. Fixed an issue where the Ultimate's Bash override did not receive the cost and cooldown adjustments that the core mechanics Bash got. So when you're in clown form, if you bashed, it didn't give you a cost reduction. But it can also proc the enchantments or poisons. Right? Shocking Siphon. Fixed an issue where this morph's Magicka restore was lower than the tooltip. Okay. The Skeletal Archer fixed an issue where this morph's damage was not increasing per attack as stated. Living Death, restoring Tether, fixed an issue where this ability and its morph's allies healing were considered single target instead of area effect in some cases. Okay. The heal from all these abilities and their tooltips will now properly be tracked as area of effect. Okay. Nightblade, Assassination's Blade, Killer Blade morph. Fixed an issue where this ability could fail to be recognized as a class or execute ability in some rare cases. Okay. Yep. All right. Grim Focus. Fixed an issue where the override of this ability in its morph, Assassin's Will, was 30 meters instead of the standard 28. So they lowered it a little bit. Not bad. Teleport Strike. Fixed an issue where this ability in its morphs stated it had an instant cast time rather than its true 400 millisecond cast time since time immemorial. Okay. So it just reflects the accurate time for you to jump across and hit them. So I want to all right. Shadow. Path of Darkness. Made some back-end improvements to this ability in morphs. Refreshing path. The ability now heals one less time over its duration, but its total healing is increased to ensure no change in the overall power. Drive. Increase the damage of this ability and funnel health morph by 5.6%. So funnel health got a bigger morph. Got a buff, a 5.6 buff. It was pretty good already, but the funnel health now is 5.6 better. So okay, we're good. Sork, Crystal Shard, Crystal Weapon. This ability now replace Imbue Weapon or its morphs after casting to help reduce the amount of burst potential it can offer with singular moments. Alright. The Daedric Mines fixed an issue where this ability and its morph scaling coefficients did not match the expected ratio of one weapon or spell damage to 10.5 magicka stamina. This will result in it scaling less effectively with weapon or spell damage, but more effectively with max magicka or stamina. Okay. Fixed an issue where this ability's damage is not considered area of effect. That's Shattering Prison. Bound Armor. Fixed an issue where this ability was not being considered direct damage in some cases, and that's the Bound Armaments morph. Alright, Lightning Form. There's some changes to this one. This ability and its morphs now last 20 seconds at base, up from 15 to properly match the standard armor durations. The Boundless Storms now ranks up to 30 seconds. It does not increase the damage done per rank. So, it goes from 23 to 30 from rank 1 to 4. And Hurricane. The area of effect from this morph now grows at 8 and 15 seconds rather than 6 and 11. And reduce the damage bonus to 8% down from 10. The total damage bonus will reach 160 at mass stacks, up from 150, resulting in slightly more damage. So it increases in size at 8 seconds and 15 seconds. And then its damage bonus is reduced to 8%, but the total damage is increased. Templar. The Burning Light passive now deals only magic damage rather than magic and physical, but continues to scale off your highest stat. So weapon, spell, or max magic and stamina. I can't remember which. Focus Charge. The Explosive Charge. Fix an issue where this damage from this ability could not be dodged, similar to Stampede or Brutal Pounce. The Piercing Javelin. This ability and its morphs now bypass block to live up to their name. So you're going to have to dodge it. Puncturing Strikes, Biting Jabs. This morph now grants Major Brutality and Sorcery for 10 seconds after casting, rather than Major Savagery for 8, as Sunfire already grants Savagery and Prophecy now. So, you can have Biting Jabs, which I believe is the Stamina morph, and it gives you Brutality and Sorcery. And then Sunfire will give you Savagery and Prophecy. So you could get both major buffs, or all the major buffs, with 2 sets, or with 2 skills. The Spear Shards increases the range of this ability and its morphs to 28 meters. And reduce the radius of the abilities to 6 meters, down from 8 to match the visual effects. Okay. Here we go. Sun Shield. Radiant Ward. Increases the shield scaling per enemy hit to 20% at rank 4, up from 9. That is a 11% increase in damage. So, or increase in size. Okay. Yeah, that's the size one. I think it also does damage too. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's a huge buff to that. It was fairly weak considering all the other wards that are out there for all the other classes. It was the weaker of the one. So that's a huge one. I'm so excited for that. All right, Dawn's Wrath. Living Dark, the morph. Reduce the snare potency of this morph to 40%, so got less of a snare. And the Unstable Core. Fix an issue where this ability had a 100 millisecond cooldown per effect rather than the listed 1 second, which created situations where it's dealing significantly more damage than intended. So it's got a 1 second cooldown now. Restoring Light, Sacred Ground. Fix an issue where this passive was not working with Ritual of Retribution. Okay, good. The Warden, Deep Fissure. Increase the duration of Major Breach granted to 10 seconds, up from 6, so 4 seconds longer. Growing Swarm. This morph now limits the number of active targets you can have to 1. Ugh. Okay. And increase the damage of the area effect portion of the ability by 50% to make up for this new limit. So, whoever you hit it with, it's going to get 50% more damage, but you can only hit one person with it. Alright. Rebalance Fungal Growth. Increase the healing of the abilities in this morph by 12.5 to meet the area of effect burst heal standards. Its cost remains the same. Healing Seed. Made some back-end improvements to the abilities. Okay. Fix an issue where the synergy granted from this ability in its morph. Harvest was not playing visual or sound effects. Okay. Ability now prioritizes lowest health enemies with Major Defile. Ragweed season is coming. Nice. So lowest health enemies are going to get hit with Major Defile. Awesome. Because they're going to die anyway, so might as well hit them with the Defile so they can't heal themselves much. Lotus Flower. Reduce the cost of this ability. Oh, that's a huge buff. 1350 down from 2970. Awesome. The base ability now grants Prophecy and Savagery. Green Lotus, the morph will now increase the number of targets healed up to 2, up from 1. It also increases the healing of the light attack portion and the heavy attack portion at rank 4, so 4500 and 1500. A Lotus Blossom, the morph now increases the duration to 60 seconds at rank 4. Okay. Nature's Grasp, reduce the healing from this ability in Nature's Embrace morph by 10%. The Bursting Vines morph reduces the healing from this morph by 25% to ensure it is not stronger than other burst heal abilities such as Rush Ceremony, which is the Templar one. Winter's Embrace, Shimmering Shield. Fix an issue where the Major Heroism would not refresh from this ability after activating it once. And Ice Fortress. Increase the duration of this morph up 25 seconds, up from 24, slightly easier alignment with ability timers. Also, okay. They added a second just to make it a nice even round number. Odd. But nonetheless. Alright, weapons. Crit Rush. The ability now ranks up in cost reduction instead of damage. And reduces the base cost to 3510. So it's going to cost less initially, but then it'll also have a cost reduction of 1.1% cost reduction. So it'll be less than 3510. Forward Momentum. Increase the final cost of this ability to 3240, up from 2700. But increase the duration of the major and minor buffs provided from this ability to 40 seconds. Wow. Okay. So it's going to cost more, but you're going to get twice the uptime on your buffs. Reverse Slice. Increase the cost of this ability in its morph. Slight bump, but not bad. Executioner. This morph no longer ranks up in damage, and instead reduces the cost per rank. Okay. And Reverse Slice. The morph splash damage now ranks up to 100% of the original hit, up from 78 at rank 4. So this is going to be an AoE hit for total of the damage. You're no longer going to get the splash damage at a reduced damage. They're all going to get hit with the same amount. One-handed shield, power bash. The damage from this ability and its morphs are now considered a bash damage and interrupts casting targets. Good, because the PvE mobs can interrupt me all the time with power bash. About time we do it. Bonus of this ability's resentment no longer stack up to 10 times and now simply increases the damage of your next power slam by 33%. Okay. Shield Assault increases the shield granted from this morph by 25% of your max health, up from 15. That's a nice one. An Invasion. Reduce the base cost of this morph to 3510. Blind Dagger. The base version of this skill now grants major brutality and sorcery after casting, rather than only using the teleport version. Increase the damage of the teleport version by 50% to better reward its use. Oh, sweet. So they both get brutality and sorcery, and then the other gets 50% more damage. Bombard. This morph no longer snares targets. Good. The morph now reduces its cost as the ability ranks up, rather than increasing the duration of the negative effects on it. The immobilize remains to be 4 seconds. So it doesn't snare them, it stuns them, basically. It stuns them, they'd have to break free, but once they break free, they're moving at normal speed. They're no longer snared. Venom Arrow. This morph now grants major brutality and sorcery for 10 seconds after casting. 2 major buffs for the Poison Arrow, non-execute, PvE mode, or PvP and PvE, depending on how you do it. That's a huge buff right there. All right, Resto Staff. Blessings of Protection. This ability and its morphs now follow the AoE burst heals. Have increased cost. Ugh, okay. Increase the healing done from Blessing of Protection and Combat Prayer by 36% and the duration of the effects to 10 seconds. Okay, so it does more healing, even though it costs more, and the duration is 10 seconds up from 8. So, okay. But and that's for both of them. The Blessings of Restoration, the morph, increases the healing done by this morph by 12.5% and increase the duration to 20 seconds up from 16. Okay, so not only the base and Combat Prayer get 36%, but the Blessings of Restoration gets 12.5, but it gets a twice as long uptime. All right. Steadfast Ward. Ward ally. This morph now reduces in cost so the ability ranks up rather than increasing the size of the shield. Makes it cheaper. Soul Trap. This ability now only deals magic damage, but it will scale dynamically. So stam or magic, or whichever one you got, it'll still deal the same amount of damage. You can run it on a stam tune if you want. Vampiric Drain. Increase the damage done from this ability and its morphs by 50% per tick. So the longer it's going, it's 50, 100, 150, and so on. Piercing Howl. Howl of Agony. Fix an issue where this ability's bonus damage to the target facing you could fail to work in many situations. And Pounce. Fix an issue where this ability and its morphs override abilities. Carnage could be dodged and blocked despite being a damage over time. The Sigigorger. Imbue Weapon. This ability and its morphs now cost 2,700 even. For their stamina versions, and 3122 for its magicka. So now it all costs 2,700. So that's a huge buff for the magicka morph and a slight buff for the stamina. Okay, magicka Proxy Debt. Fixed an issue where this morph was not properly scaling with your max stamina if it was higher than your max magicka. So now you can have a Stam Bomber. That's good. There's a couple other little things. Item sets. Fixed numerous issues where sets that weren't based on damage or healing were not properly labeled as such, creating confusion. Okay. The most noticeable fix set was Aegis Caller or Thunder Caller could trigger Dark Convergence, or where Dark Convergence could trigger Hrothgar, leading to insane wombo combos from one minor input. So yeah, Dark Convergence was the area that I was thinking about with regards to the sets above. How big was the area? Is it Dark Convergence style? Because you could possibly not roll out of that. So if the areas are about the same size as Dark Convergence, I think that'll be pretty good on those PvP and or Imperial City sets. Ability altering weapons, Piercing Spray. Fix an issue where this set could fail to grant its bonus to bow attacks, which is weird because it's a bow ability. Perennial's Wrath. Fix an issue where the final tick of damage from the set could return as 0. Yeah, it was kind of bad. Dungeon Arena sets, Doilmish. Fix an issue where the set could proc on the same attack that triggered a stun in some cases. Okay. Fire Blossom. Fix an issue where the set could fail to deal damage in many cases. Okay. Noble Duelist. Set now adds 2681 weapon and spell damage to your light and heavy attacks rather than adding 1811 to all those. Okay. Infiltrator and Unweaver. These sets now add 2014 weapon and spell damage to your light and heavy attacks rather than 1685 damage. Okay. So you get weapon and spell damage on Noble Duelist and Infiltrator and Unweaver. Okay. Because the weapon and spell damage will... the light and heavy attacks probably outweighs the 1685 extra damage. Monster Mass... Gloruk the Destroyer. Fix an issue where the set could fail to remove its stacks. Okay. And Molekina. Fix an issue where the set could activate in situations it shouldn't have. Okay. The Pearl Necklace. Fix an issue where the set could proc from no-cost abilities, as well as some abilities while out of combat. Right. Queen's Elegance. This set now grants Empower for 3 seconds after completing a fully charged heavy attack, rather than adding 2610 damage to your next direct damage attack. So you get Empower for 3 seconds. Dark Convergence. I still don't think it's going to be good enough to run, but... I mean, you may. Dark Convergence. Fix an issue where this set was failing to apply any of its damage bonuses to targets inside. Fix an issue where the set's damage could end much higher than intended. And fix an issue where the set could apply justice neutral enemies when prevention of attacking innocents was enabled. Oh, sweet. So you're pulling in guards and merchants and everybody else. Hrothgar's Chill. Fix an issue where this set was not triggering off many abilities it should have, such as Daedric Mines or Trap Beast. And Wrath of Imperium. Fixed an issue where this set was not applying its bonus to many attacks it should have. Alright. Olorime. Fixed an issue where the set did not proc off abilities source tethers, unlike other item sets that share similar proc conditions. Alright, and then... there's some other art animation stuff. Bankers will no longer refuse to interact with criminals. Oh, that's good. All right. Fixed an issue where battering rams could be sold to vendors for 0 gold. Now they cannot be sold to vendors at all, matching the behavior of all siege weapons. But they didn't stack any of the siege weapons. Damn it. I know that has to deal with like the health of the siege weapons, but come on. Nothing like running around with like 75% of your bag full of siege. So, some dungeon content. They fixed some stuff. Fixed some housing issues and some miscellaneous stuff. Quests. Fix an issue with endeavors to slay barbaric foes listed ogres as an acceptable target. In fact, slaying ogres progresses endeavors to kill giants. Going forward, endeavors to slay giants will mention defeating ogres and minotaurs, as they also count towards their progress. Okay. Some other stuff. Little things, UI. And that's pretty much it that I can think of. So there's definitely some interesting things that they put in there. I do think that the changes that they're doing for the hybridization is actually going to be a good thing. Like I said, you know, you'll be able to use it as a stamina class. You'll be able to use a Magicka heal ability. So you're not going to be taken away from your primary resource, and the heal that you're going to be doing is actually going to be it's going to be more effective as if you were a mag class. So I think that's a good thing, because you'll be able to sustain a lot. You'll be able to survive a lot more and sustain more, because you're not wasting your stam on a heal. And then also, on conversely, with the Magicka side of things, you'll be able to use some of the stamina sets to increase your damage, and also potentially use vigor for a heal as well, thereby getting your stamina, your secondary resource of stamina, to help you sustain and survive while you're continuing to pressure the enemies around you. So I think they're pretty interesting changes. There's some things I'd like to see, and I think that some of the new sets will have to, well, obviously they're going to be adjusted in like 2 weeks when they do the adjustment. But I think they're going to be really good stuff. The PvP aspect of it, I think there's a lot of playability that's going to come from this. There's going to be a lot of counterplay. And for the PvE side of things, it's going to be really good as well, because you'll have more diversity of builds, and you'll be able to play how you want. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what these things come up with. I'll be posting some videos on what these things look like once we go to once I get onto the PTS. I got a couple of things to do to help with I got to set up the different builds and stuff like that. So it's going to take me a little bit, probably all day today, to do it. But look for tomorrow to have some reviews of some of the gear and gameplay situations. I'm gonna try and interface with some both PvE and PvP creators, and possibly get together, and we're gonna try some of these different things out, the different builds, the different tests, different gear sets. So hang tight here. So hopefully you all enjoyed this. Hopefully you found something you liked in there. Tell me what you guys think about the changes, what sets look interesting to you, and I will be doing some testing and other stuff tomorrow. So just let me know what you guys think, or well, Tuesday. So this is Monday night, but Tuesday after work and after the kid goes to bed, I will be on, and I will probably be streaming that as well. So just let me know what you guys wanted to see me test, and I hope to see you in the next dungeon. Have fun, stay safe, and remember, wherever you go, adventure awaits.